Welcome to the first episode of this Bridge of Awareness podcast, where I would like to introduce you to some universal truth known as the Teachings of Zed. My name is Jane Tinworth. I've been a spiritual healer for over 50 years, a spiritual teacher and a writer. And it's my privilege to be the custodian at the moment of these precious teachings. I will explain as we go along how these teachings were received and their content, which really is very profound. I'll explain why the name Zed, why they happen now, and what they are for. But a sort of thumbnail of that is in this little story which I offer, and that is that some years ago, my grandson, who was then about 8 years old, came to me and said, "Can I ask you something, Nani?" Well, he looked quite worried, so I said, "Yes, of course." "What is it, Christian?" And he said, "Well, what's the point of being alive if you're just going to die?" I thought, I was so impressed. What a wonderful question. One we should all ask ourselves. And it's what these teachings are about. It's about understanding life. And in fact, when I was guided to write a book of these teachings, I called it a handbook for understanding life. It's not a quick fix, but it's not very complicated either. The teachings come from a high dimension. They have not been altered. I've made sure of that. There's no opinions in them, no judgment, no personal bias. I have simply ordered them into subjects. Recently, I've been concerned that I haven't been taking these teachings out in the world, as I was asked to do, for a long time. For various reasons, I have been working hard in other areas. Originally, I used to go out in workshops around the UK, but also in Europe and in America. Now, I was worried, as I say, that they were in the book, but no one was hearing about them. But I was asked to start teaching again recently. And it just felt so right. And I knew immediately that this time it wouldn't be getting in cars or aeroplanes, it would be over the internet. Hence this podcast. All I had to do was to set it up and learn the technology, which, when you're in your 80s, isn't so easy actually, but it's a privilege. So I hope you'll forgive any shortcomings, but it is my first attempt, and I have got something very important to say. When I began planning how to present these teachings once again, I was told that I had to include myself in order to give a more human perspective on them. And that's not very easy for me, although I've had many interesting experiences in my life, and I have written about them, but now I bring them to you in context with these teachings. I guess to begin with, I would say that the teachings themselves were received through a combination of a full trance medium and myself. A complete surprise when this happened, but obviously all is known on one level. We just hope to catch up with it eventually. They were received in sittings over a 3-year period from 1988 to 1991. And why the name Zed? Well, the speaker of these truths is if you like, almost like a front man for a large organisation. Not one person, but one spokesman, and without a definite personality. She said, we don't need personalities, we don't need strange voices, we don't need characters from the past. We're above that. But how about using a letter of the alphabet as an identity? So I chose the last letter of the English alphabet, which is Z, and that's why they're called the Teachings of Zed. But they are the teachings of the universe. And as we were told, these are not our property. They are not your property. They are part of the universe. As we go along, I will tell you about how the mediumship developed and how it progressed. But for now, we have to understand that it's no accident that the teachings are given at this time. Because in the movement of the planets, we are now in a new age. The teachings started in that transitional period, and we're now in the age of Aquarius. And at the beginning of each new age, there is a shift in energy. And there is also a new set of understandings for mankind. Mankind meaning womankind as well, of course. And this is what these teachings are too. They are at the right time, and they are for us all, because as mankind goes through his lifetimes, many lifetimes, so his awareness increases. And at each new age, there is a different aspect of his growth. We have been through the age of the intellect, and we can see that in the amazing changes that have happened in 2,000 years. Absolutely astonishing. Now in a digital age, and more to come. But this particular age is the age of man's spiritual growth, when he learns to understand who he really is, not just a body and a mind, which is his predominant concern at the moment, but a body and mind as a vehicle for a spiritual being. To explain a little about my background, pardon me, I'll go back to when I was about my early 30s, alone, far from my family and friends, with 2 little children, and not very well. And I was lent a book on meditation. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And sat down, read it, followed the instructions, picture a candle, focus on the candle, relax, still your mind, focus on the candle. I thought, oh, can't be bothered with this. So I got up and found that I'd lost an hour. Where had that hour gone? I checked all the clocks, but yeah, gone. Amazing. Well, it wasn't too long after that again I was back at the fireside reading a book, and without warning I was suddenly in a different space. It was peaceful, it was wonderful, it was indescribable. And I knew somebody was there with me. And I knew he was male. I couldn't see him. And I felt him take my chin and lift my face. And I smiled. And I knew in that moment that I was completely and utterly loved. And in those few moments, that's all it was, my life changed. I was not only cured of my illness, but I knew from an inner knowing beyond doubt, beyond desire, anything else, I knew I was a healer. And I knew that's how I had to spend my life. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I hope you will join me again when I will continue this story, which isn't all about me. So until then, thank you. Goodbye.